The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Excuse me, folks. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Pirate Mike Edwards is not going to be here today. He's traveling. Our two guests, we're going to have Maurice White, who's a candidate for Carson City Supervisor, Ward 2. Carson City Supervisor.
Yeah, I know. I was going to ask him about that. Do they just do it different? It's considered supervisor city.
Maybe it's like a county commission or a city council. Who knows?
Yeah, that's why I thought maybe it's a different name for city council.
Because you know how Carson City is. You know,
it's a little different up there. Yeah.
Well, a lot different up there.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have Rod Woodbury, who's the mayor of Boulder City.
Yeah, we haven't seen Mayor Woodbury for a long time, so it'll be good.
I wonder what he's doing.
I don't know.
You think he's hiding out?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You know those people in Boulder City. They're like very close knit. They don't like outside influences.
No gambling.
No gambling.
No grow houses.
No strip clubs. That's why we don't go up there much, man.
I know.
There's not a lot happening.
I know. I was like, hey, they don't even have a brothel up there.
What's the point of going? Hello.
And I just want to mention that 95-year-old Navy veteran who was getting the VA seized all payments to her because apparently she was overpaid from her husband's pension, is how the story went. Pirate Mike Edwards got involved and with his wife Stacy and Denise Davis, and they set up a GoFundMe page to help her with her bills so she won't get evicted out of her home. And they raised a lot of money for her. And Denise Davis Foundation, I forget the name of her foundation, they wrote a check for $500 to catch up on her utilities. And right after that, Fox 5, the national Fox 5 News, wanted to do a story on it. And they did do a story. And they contacted the VA, and now the VA is saying that they're not going to pursue going after those dollars from this 95-year-old veteran, and they were going to continue her payments. So isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's really good. Remember a couple weeks ago when I was on the show, remember I talked to you about a similar situation that was happening with the California National Guard, with the guardsmen. Well, Secretary Carter has put a stay on that as well. He said we're not gonna make them repay it. We're gonna come up with a different way. We're gonna figure something else out. But it's not fair to them and they're actually going to make the state of California reimburse the payments that they have already received until they can figure this out.
That's just crazy. I mean, you have a contract.
Yeah.
And it says, hey, if you re-enlist for X amount of years, we'll give you these dollars. Yep. They signed it, you signed it, you're fulfilling your part of the obligation, and all of a sudden they come up and say, hey, by the way, they weren't authorized to do that. Yeah. Now you got to repay us?
Yeah.
After you spent the money?
I know. And here's the thing, just so that the listeners can kind of understand the difference with the way the National Guard works. Remember back when, unfortunately, the disaster that happened with Hurricane Katrina, right?
Right.
And there was a lot of backlash against George Bush, didn't handle it correctly. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, FEMA jacked that whole thing up. I mean, we all know that. Well, there was a lot of people that kept saying how, they didn't have enough National Guard in Louisiana because the National Guard was all deployed in Iraq.
Yeah.
So they were going after the Bush administration on that. Well, just so listeners understand how the National Guard works, so if it's the California National Guard, the President of the United States, or in this case, let's say Louisiana, mm-hmm. George Bush could not tell the governor of Louisiana, you have to deploy your National Guard. Mm-hmm. He does not have the legal authority to do that. The reason why a lot of governors don't have a problem with doing that is because they get a lot of money.
Federal dollars.
federal money paid to them. So as far as I'm concerned, the hell with the California National Guard. Those people should never have to pay that money, because I want to know how much money they actually made off of deploying their National Guard troops in Iraq to begin with. So just so listeners understand how that works.
Well, a lot of people don't know how those things work, and they think that, hey, they got to repay the money, and that's just bull crap, But early voting is over.
Right.
I can't wait for the general election.
Yeah, I know, me either. I saw this crazy thing. Well, the reopening of the FBI investigation seems to be tightening things a little bit. But even though I'll tell the audience, I voted for the person that's not under FBI investigation, and I really hope Trump.
Was that Gary Johnson, Libertarian Party?
No. So I am pulling for Trump, but I just think it's funny. Like, I'm seeing some of this stuff out now, like on Facebook, and they had this Facebook map of Trump's going to win 42 of 50 states, and I'm like, okay, if you think Trump is going to win Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, New York,
Utah,
you might want to
Utah
come back to reality a little bit here. Yeah, and even it'd be interesting to see how Utah works out. That non partisan party candidate there, he has a real good shot at winning those 9 electoral votes, so that should be interesting.
I don't even know why he's even in the race. I mean, he has no chance.
I don't know. Just some people.
But that's you have every right to.
You have the right,
run for public office. With that said, I just want to let the folks know who Veterans in Politics has already endorsed. And a lot of our candidates that we endorsed right out the gate in the primary, because we don't do an endorsement in the general election unless there wasn't any primary elections. But a lot of our candidates won the primary election.
Yeah.
So and they don't have a general election. But the ones that did not win their primary elections outright and that are in the general election, these are the candidates we endorsed: Ruben De Silva, Congressional District 1. Danny Tarkanian, Congressional District 3. Out of the box, Congresswoman Coleman Radawagan out of American Samoa. Amada Amoya, which is Amada Amoya Coleman Radawagan out of American Samoa. She's the current Congresswoman. Yeah. Annette Levy, District Court Judge Department 20. Justice of the Peace Township Department 6, Judge Beta Yeager. Henderson, Justice of the Peace Department 1, special election, Michael Davison, who I haven't even seen campaigned. You seen him campaign?
No, I haven't either, yeah.
It's not that I'm up in Henderson, but geez, I haven't seen nothing on social media either.
No.
And then we have Nevada State Senate District 6, Victoria Seaman, Nevada State Senate District 7, Kimberly Shanghang, John Piero, Nevada State Assembly District 4, John Moore, Nevada State Assembly District 8, and then we got Melody Howard and Troy Ethan Warren, and both of them suspended their campaigns, but we still endorsed them. And then we have Jim Marchant, State Assembly District 37, Howard Schaff, State Assembly District number 42, State Assembly District number 28, Wesley Cornwell, State Assembly District number 35, Brent Jones, who had a battle with one girl named Tiffany Jones.
Yeah.
And how do you find the people with the same last names just to run against somebody?
They do that a lot. That's why Bachum's opponent ran. She admitted that's why she's running.
She admitted the only reason why she's in that race is because of the name.
Name's close, yeah.
And then we have Michael Wixom, University State Regent, Len Marciano, State Board of Education, District 4, County Commissioner, District A, Steve Sisolak, who plans to run for governor. I think he's going to run for governor.
Really?
Yeah, one day. Yeah. And then we have Richard.
Cross party lines on that one.
Richard Vaughn, Clark County School Board Trustee. And we have Patricia Tu, Clark County School Board Trustee, District E. And then our Northern Nevada candidates, we have Jenny Breckus, Reno City Councilwoman. We have Chris Carver, candidate for Carson City Mayor. Matt Lee, candidate for Sparks, Justice of the Peace. Janine Henson, candidate for Nevada State Nevada State Senate District 19. William Billhorn, candidate for Washoe County School Board District G. And then we have Maurice White, who's on the phone right now, candidate for Carson City Supervisors Ward number 2. So we wish those candidates well. We wish all the candidates well. And as you can tell, that Veterans in Politics has stayed out of the presidential race. But we all have our own preference who we want to win. Oh. And I'm rooting for Trump, too. So there you go. And the U.S. Senate race, I went for Tom Jones.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
So there you go. So, somebody wrote on the social media that it goes, look at Veterans in Politics candidates because they don't discriminate against race, sex, age, religion, wealthy, poor, popular candidate or non-popular candidate, or you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're libertarian or you're IAP or you're just not a political affiliation at all. And that's true. If you take a look at our candidate list, you'll see endorsements across the board.
Yeah, and like I've told, and if anyone hasn't listened to the show in a while, just thank you for that, Steve. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know, before I met Steve Sanson, I was literally the guy that went into the polling booth, and if you had an R next to your name, you got the vote. Then I
call that lazy voter.
I met Mr. Sanson here, and he said, well, Jim, do you like all of them? I was like, no, I think a couple of them are assholes, but the Republicans have voted for them anyway. And you go, well, what does that make you, Jim?
Yeah.
So, you really you made me become a much more educated voter, so thank you for that.
And as you could tell in the last legislative session, a lot of those R's, if I didn't know better, I would swear they were D's.
Yep, you got that right.
I'm just saying, that's how they voted.
Yeah, they've definitely lost their way a little bit up there. That's
lost
for sure.
their way is what you call it.
Yeah, but trying to be nice, Steve.
But I just want to tell folks, we're the only group that actually videotapes our endorsements, put them out on social media, and say, hey, if you don't like who we endorse, educate yourself, because that's what it's all about. It's all about educating yourself on the candidates that are running for office. Don't go by name ID. Don't go by what your mama said. Don't go by what your daddy said. Don't go by what your neighbor says. Go by what you say. And the only way you're going to know if you educate yourself.
Yep.
And that's the best way to do it. Just educate yourself on these candidates, because I'm telling you, folks, once you look into their background, you'll be amazed. You'll be like, hell no, what the hell was I doing?
And as always, Steve, what's the thing we always tell everybody? Go out to vote on Tuesday, and if you don't, shut up.
That's right.
Don't want to hear from you.
If you don't vote, don't complain.
Yep.
And all those people that voted early, thank you so much. No matter who you voted for, I just want to thank you, because men and women of this country have fought for other countries' right to vote, and they have died for other countries' right to vote. Look at Afghanistan. They never voted before until we went over there, right?
Yep.
Now they're voting. So go vote. With that said, this is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. We'll be right back, folks. We're going to come back with Maurice White.
Hi, this is Annette Levy. Corruption destroys communities. Did you know Nevada was rated the 5th most corrupt state in the nation? I want to change that. I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 20. Let's work together to raise the bar in Nevada. Call me at 702-499-7278 or look me up on my website, electanet.com. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Heidi Hanusa, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. My clients consist of families, children, couples, and individuals that are in need of some assistance dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety, and many other life issues that you can find on my website. I accept most insurances. For additional information, such as location, hours, insurances, and experience, go to my website at Faith Individual and Family Counseling.
Folks, this is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones of Veterans in Politics. We are back. We have Maurice White, who's a candidate for Carson City Supervisor Ward number 2. Mr. White, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing real good. Could you give us a bio and tell us where you're calling from?
So I'm calling from Carson City, Nevada. I was born and raised here in Carson City. I'm a retired diesel mechanic and kind of perennial government watchdog that has taken the plunge to run for office and see if we can rearrange how Carson City government operates.
Could you explain the purpose or the function of a city supervisor?
So that's really a pretty good question, but before I do that, I just want to say thank you guys for your endorsement. It's really humbling that you have the confidence in my campaign to accomplish the things that I talk about. So Carson City is a consolidated municipality. We are neither a county or a city, but we provide both functions. The supervisor's job is to manage the budget and set policy for city staff. And so, again, that's a very wide-ranging endeavor in that we have a mayor, city manager type of government, but our sheriff is elected as you would do in a county. But the fire chief works for the city manager, not the mayor. So it's a little takes a little bit of understanding to see how we operate. But that's what the Board of Supervisors do. Really is on the policy level of how the city operates.
How many are there supervisors?
So there are 4 supervisors and the mayor.
So it's like a city council, right?
That's correct, except that, again, we do county functions as well as the city functions.
So you do county and city, so you're not really a county, you're not really a city, you're just a fill in the blank.
Yeah, it's a consolidated municipality, and the reality is we really operate a lot like Washington, D.C. The legislature has pretty good oversight about some of the things that we do here. On the surface, it seems a little silly that the legislature would get involved on some minute details, but honestly, when we made this conversion in 1969, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to Carson City because of money savings in getting rid of duplicate operations. So we don't have a county road department and a city street department. We have one operation that takes care of all of our roads. We're 157 square miles, but geographically, the city itself is only about 5 square miles. We go clear out into the middle of Lake Tahoe to the California border, clear out east, we're south of Dayton, clear up to Washoe County. So even though we're geographically fairly large, we have a lot of federal oversight within our political boundaries. And the way this valley is put together, there's never going to be another community besides Carson City. So it just makes sense that we combine all the city and county operations into one political operation.
So you have Reno in your jurisdiction, correct?
No, we stop at the Washoe County line.
Okay.
However, because the way everything is laid out, some people kind of more identify with Carson City than Reno. For instance, the folks out of Washoe Valley, just over the border, they do all their shopping and everything in Carson City.
All right, but before Jim asks you questions, I got to ask you this one. How much money does the state give to Carson City? Because you have all those state entities up there. You have the Supreme Court, you got the state capitol, you got the legislative building, you got the governor's mansion, blah, blah, blah. How much money does the state give to Carson City?
Zero.
For rent. What?
Zero. So the way that works is the state owns the majority of the property where their offices and facilities are. Anything else that they go out to is generally on private property. And I'll have to retract that a little bit because as I'm talking, I remember one situation. We moved the Nevada Highway Patrol dispatch center into our sheriff's office. And so they do pay rent on that. But we share some expenses like DUI checkpoints, distracted driver enforcement, those kind of things. But as far as Carson City getting any money from the state due to all the state and federal governments being here, no, we don't get anything from that.
Well, that's crazy. The state doesn't pay property tax?
No, they don't pay property tax. The Forest Service does make a payment in lieu of taxes through the Tahoe Basin, but I'm not real sure what that number really is.
Maurice, one of the questions that I have, I forget, we had somebody that was, and the name escapes me, and I apologize, that was running for office up there as well. One of the things that he brought up that I found was rather interesting is your guys' water situation there in Carson City. Can you explain that a little bit to the listeners? The way I remember it is you get most of your water from Douglas. You get some of your water in from Douglas County because the actual water there in the city is got something in it, too much of something in it to make the water undrinkable.
Right. We have too much arsenic and too much uranium. But the issue there is the water has not changed. What changed is the EPA has lowered the standards, so it put the majority of our west side wells out of compliance. So the facility to mitigate that was very seriously expensive, and the disposal of the uranium and arsenic waste, trucking it clear to Wyoming, would have been about $1 million a year. So what we did was, over a series of agreements with the city of Minden, we purchased water rights down there, and then we have built a regional water facility that Douglas County, so it gets a little confusing with the different entities. We bought the water from Minden, but Douglas County is operating the pipeline that was built to get water to Carson City. What that allows us to do is blend that sweet water out of the Carson Valley with our out-of-compliance water here in Carson City. You notice I didn't say polluted because it really isn't. It's just not in compliance. Yeah. The funny thing of that is the solution to pollution is dilution. So we blend the good water with the out-of-compliance water, makes it drinkable. That regional water system also gave us the ability to deliver water back to Minden if there's an emergency. That facility also goes into Lyon County to the east of us, where we also own water there. We can bring that water to Carson City, or if that area of Lyon County has a water issue emergency, we could send water to them. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody. It doesn't make sense to some people because I frankly don't think they understand actual water rights and water law and that sort of thing. But we spent about $30 million acquiring and bringing that water to Carson City. There's an additional about $15 million we're spending here in Carson City proper to close water loops that we have. We have about 7 individual systems here in Carson City. So if Area 7 has a problem and it's isolated, then we're in trouble. So we've interlooped the entire Carson City so that water can move back and forth and go anywhere we need it to go in an emergency or during maintenance periods and things of that nature.
Well, how much, if I don't mean to interrupt, but one of the things what are you guys doing to address, now obviously all this stuff has to be paid for, but
right.
I've heard a lot of reports that like the actual water, the water bills for the people in Carson City have almost tripled in the last few years. Is there anything being done to address that?
Well, we're going to have to take a look at that, and that grows out of the issue of, through this economic downturn, the city has swept money out of maintenance budgets to do other things, and so that has left our water treatment and for potable water maintenance to decline. We also have what used to be known as a sewer plant, is now called the Water Resource Recovery Facility. That was right near complete collapse. We had several explosions in there, and strictly due to deferred maintenance. So we can't fix it all in one day. So these are called enterprise funds. So the money generated from the water bills can't be spent anywhere except in the sewer and the water and storm drain funds. So a citizens committee was put together to study this issue. They hired a consultant, did a study, told us what the water rates should be to be able to fund all of these repairs we need to do. My opponent, who is the incumbent, stuck his nose into it and said, my developer friends don't like that. We want to restructure it. So now we have this tiered system whereby people like myself, single, live alone, no pets, no garden, no lawn, my water bill is just about tripled. So the people that don't use a lot of water are, in the end result, paying a higher rate per gallon of water than developers and manufacturers and stuff.
Well, that sounds about right. Hey, so just
Yeah.
one other quick question. Besides the water, the few times I've been up to Carson City, is there anything being done about the roads? You got one
city
good
road or
road.
the freeway?
You got one good road, and that's it. The rest of them are terrible.
Well, no, actually, we don't have any good roads because we just finished an $11 million project to narrow Carson Street down to 2 lanes. Pretty ridiculous when there's a lot of other infrastructure needs that are not being met. That again is an outgrowth of deferred maintenance through the economic downturns. We're really in a pickle on that deal right now because the gas taxes that are available simply are not going to keep up with even minor maintenance, crack sealing, chip sealing, that sort of thing. So that's where this question 3 comes in on the indexed gas tax. I don't know how we're going to fix the roads if we don't do that, but the way that law is written, I don't think it's going to do it either. So I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to get serious about figuring that out, but I think one of the things we do need to do is what I've campaigned on all along is restructuring our capital improvement and maintenance programs. And we're going to have to do that through policy and culture change. We're not going to have money to throw at these things, but we're going to have to really decide what our real priorities are, whether they're legacy building projects like the new animal shelter we built, or if we're going to actually address what our community needs, like the streets. But honestly, even though the streets are a big deal, and I really don't know how we're going to pay for that, we've got other things that in my mind are substantially more important than that. I mean, there is $6.8 million in capital improvement projects that are not funded. A lot of those are within the Sheriff's Department, where they need upgrades in their technology. They need upgrades in the facility itself. Our fire chief has issued a letter that says his emergency response systems have outstretched their capability to respond. But we're messing around with these other things like buying conservation easements on old ranches and spending money on changing how the city uses energy. I think we can go a long ways in figuring out these things like the streets and the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department by changing the culture in how staff approaches what priorities are.
Mr. White, I just want to make sure I got the structure of the council down, or commission, or whatever you want to call it. It's
Board of Supervisors.
Board of Supervisors. I stand corrected. It's a mayor and four board members. Is that
correct?
Okay. What's your budget?
Well, that's kind of a moving target depending on who you're talking to. Generally, it's about $200 million is the all-in, all-done price But the reason that's a moving target is the city is always and continually in the process of bringing in grants from state, federal agencies. So what the overall expenditures are is substantially more than the $200 million.
Wow. Okay. All right, Mr. White. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the program. Could you let the listeners know why they should go to the voting booth and vote for you? And could you give us your point of contact?
So my point of contact is yourvoicematters.cc.com. You can call me at 775-297-6484. The reason you want to vote for me is because what I'm offering the community is the blue-collar point of view that does not exist on the Board of Supervisors right now. I totally agree that there should be business people there, but that's the only point of view. As a retired diesel mechanic, I spent an extensive amount of time in the public and private sectors, 27 years at Douglas County School District, and I almost always had two jobs. I've worked in the private industry for trucking companies, construction companies, farmers, ranchers, casinos. I understand how this city is supposed to work, and I understand why it's not working the way it should. With my different point of view and the way I can cipher through the details and understand where these projects are coming from, we can avoid a lot of the wasted tax money that you're seeing and spend it in places where it really needs to be spent.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Mr. White. Folks, that's Maurice White, candidate for Carson City Supervisor Ward number 2. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics, but we're urging that all of our members in northern Nevada, especially in Ward 2 area around Carson City, go to the voting booth and vote for Maurice White, who's endorsed by Veterans in Politics. We'll be right back, folks. We're coming back with Rod Woodbury, Mayor of Boulder City.
Hi, I'm Heidi Hanusa, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. My clients consist of families, children, couples, and individuals that are in need of some assistance dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety, and many other life issues that you can find on my website. I accept most insurances. For additional information, such as location, hours, insurances, and experience, go to my website at Faith Individual and Family Counseling.
Hi, this is Annette Levy. Corruption destroys communities. Did you know Nevada was rated the 5th most corrupt state in the nation? I want to change that. I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 20. Let's work together to raise the bar in Nevada. Call me at 702-499-7278 or look me up on my website, electanet.com. Thanks.
We're back, folks. Sanson Jim Jones of Veterans in Politics. We have Rod Woodbury, Mayor of that little town of Boulder City, Jim. Little town.
Yeah, I just want to tell the mayor, I hope he understands. I was just joking around in the intro. Boulder City is actually, we go out there to visit every once in a while. It's a nice place. Yeah. It's a nice place up there. We just got to bust his chops, being here in Sin City and everything. So
there's no sin going on up there.
No, I don't think so. No, it's a pretty nice little town.
Yeah. You know what they should do? They should have a cornfield or something, grow some crop. I think they got all that federal land out there.
Yeah, I don't want to take any more water out of Lake Mead, though. It's looking pretty peaked right now. Is a nice way to put it.
Mayor, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well.
Could you pull up by the mic over there so we could hear you? No, I still can't hear you, Mayor.
Need it closer?
Yeah. Are we hearing him, John? Because we had that happen last time. Remember with Mike? Yeah.
How's that?
A little bit better. That's why I wear these headphones, to make sure that I can hear everybody, because when we play the YouTube video, I want to make sure everybody's on there. Mayor, could you thank you so much for coming to the program. Could you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. I'm Mayor of Boulder City. Been on the City Council since 2011 and was elected mayor in last year. So about a year and a half I've been the mayor. I grew up in Las Vegas, moved to Boulder City in 1978 and went to high school there, and so most of my life I've been a Boulder City resident. Family of 7 children and my beautiful wife Leslie.
7?
7.
So you must be a Mormon then.
I am.
7 children. Boy, that's a lot of children, Jim.
Yeah.
That's too much. I could. What was the ages, Mayor?
Oh gosh, you're gonna tax my memory. My youngest is 9, and my oldest, I believe, is 23.
Okay, okay, that's not a bad.
Five
age
boys and 2 girls.
5 boys.
Yes.
Okay.
Got myself a basketball team.
You play?
I do.
Oh,
Occasionally.
Well, what do you play? Center?
No center.
No center?
A little bit of shooting guard and point guard if I'm lucky.
Shooting and point guard.
Lucky to get in the game, yeah.
Mayor, we were there when you first became on the City Council of Boulder City. You didn't tell anybody what your profession is.
I'm an attorney.
There you go. What type of attorney?
I like to do real estate and business deals mostly, but we do a fair amount of everything, including litigation. And we're just a small firm. I work with my brother-in-law.
My eye is twitching here.
Is it?
God, I don't know what's going on. Why did you want to be on the city council? And it's a 2-part question. And why did you want to become mayor?
Okay, well, people had asked me to run for city council, probably dating back to about 2007 or 8.
Okay.
And it's always a hard decision, to get involved, just because it really impacts the time with your family. It impacts your profession. So it took a little while to percolate, but the reason I originally decided to run for city council in 2011 is because we had a somewhat of a dysfunctional council at that time. A lot of animosity and vitriol on there, and I just thought that the dialogue needed to change, and get back to the issues, stop the personal attacks and the name calling, and so that was my motivation to get on there. And then it was kind of a natural evolution to decide to become to run for mayor. Mayor Tobler was termed out.
Man, he's my buddy.
He is. He's a good guy.
He's Mormon too.
Wish he could have stayed on there longer. Yeah, he's Mormon.
I don't think he has as many kids as you do, though.
He doesn't, but he's close.
But for full disclosure, your father, Bruce Woodbury, I've known him since 1998. Was on the board of county commissioner for 28 years?
28 years. Yeah.
They named the 215 after him.
Yes.
Right. Your sister Melissa Woodbury is currently, I believe this is her 2nd or 3rd term, sitting as an assemblywoman. So
Right.
you're from a family of politics. Why does politics interest you so?
Well, when you say politics, it sometimes has a negative connotation. Actually, my great uncle Claire Woodbury, after whom Woodbury Junior High is named, was he was on the school board and did some other things for years. So we do have a long tradition of, I like to say, public service. I mean, being in public office is just one way to do public service, but it's an important way. And it helps to shape policy and make sure our communities are good places to live and to raise a family and things like that. So that's why we do it.
So tell us about Boulder City, because it's a very unique city in the state of Nevada. Tell us what it has and what it doesn't have.
Right. Well, yeah, and so Boulder City, it was originally a federal, it wasn't even a city until 1960, but it was created as sort of a tent city to support the dam workers when they were building Hoover Dam, originally known as Boulder Dam. And it was supposed to just pack up and go away after the dam was built, but there were enough people that lingered around, and it kind of just became a consolidated community. So because it was a federal reservation, there was no gambling, there was no prostitution. There wasn't even alcohol back in that day. There is that now, but there's still no gambling in Boulder City.
Right. Boulder City is what we call a sleepy town, because nothing really takes place there. But then it started to make the news. You had the bikers that came there, and that whole thing that blew over when all the bikers showed up. Remember that?
I do.
And then you had the thing with I think there was a constable, something with the constable going on with the constable out there. I forget exactly what. And then you had the thing with the the animal rights advocates, with was it a dog or I forget.
Yeah, the animal shelter there.
Yeah, the animal shelter there, and then you had the thing with the whole thing with the wasn't sure it was a sheriff. No, what would you guys call them up there? It's not sheriff. It's the what?
Police chief.
Police chief. That's the words that escaped me. The thing with the police chief. One police chief was ousted out, which we were part of that one, and then the other one, Bill Conger, he resigned, and I like Bill.
I do too.
And that was unfortunate. But then I saw your name pop up in the RJ. You want to explain a little bit about that? What was that about? Because anybody that name will be popping up, I would not think Rod Woodbury's name will pop up.
Talking about the ethics commission settlement we recently had. Yeah, so there was an ethics commission complaint made against me about a year ago, I think, by
who would complain against you though?
A local citizen, and he probably doesn't want his name out there, so I won't put it out there. But it was an issue about whether conflict of interest, whether I should have abstained and disclosed, and I actually did disclose the first time. It was about a bid award. Ultimately, it was determined that it was a non-willful, insubstantial violation, and that's because I cooperated. There was no monetary gain. When I did disclose the first time, I didn't know about the other ones when I didn't disclose. And it was mandatory that we vote in favor of this bid award anyway. You have to give it to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. And so for all those reasons, we entered into a settlement agreement. There was no penalty. We agreed and actually suggested that we do some training to just get a perspective on these sort of, no harm, no foul violations. What are we supposed to do better to stay off the radar? Because the unfortunate thing about it is not that I was involved in that, but it's with these little gotcha type things, other people, and you know this because you've run for office. It chills the pool of potential people who want to run for office because they see those little things and they go, why would I want to get involved in that? I don't need that in my life, and that's unfortunate because there are a lot of good people out there that
it's like you got to walk on eggshells, so to speak.
Yeah, you do, and it seems to come with the territory these days. If you're going to be in political office, you're going to be under the microscope sometimes, but we move on and we try to focus on the important things that we're supposed to be doing. Those are just distractions, and it's there for a reason, of course, when there are serious ethical violations, but these little inconsequential things, there's just a blip on the radar.
So for full disclosure, Mayor, I like everybody on your board, and I think that all of you guys out there, the 4 city council people, right?
Right.
Is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4?
There are 4, yes.
And then you make the 5th one, right?
Right.
I think all you people up there are ethical and on par. And I wouldn't say that just to say that because you know me, but I think that that little write-up they did on you, I think that was on call for, and I just wanted you to come on the program so you could explain exactly what that was about. That way, they won't try to throw stone at you when there's no need to throw any stones.
Thank you.
But tell us how you're going to move forward. How you're going to help Boulder City advance in the next millennium, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I won't be around for the next millennium.
What is your plan? Are you going to have solar energy up there? I heard there was some wind farm or solar supposed to be going on up there.
We've already got thousands of acres of solar fields out there, and that's been
and the drone. You also have a drone program.
We do have a new and the first world drone port, and so it's we just approved the lease for that about a week and a half ago. Really excited to see where that goes. It's still a new technology, obviously, and so remains to be seen. What kind of business it's going to attract in the testing, but we are one of Nevada's 4 drone test sites, and so that's the impetus for it, and we got some good operators out there excited to see.
Well, there's 2 things you forgot to tell the listeners what Boulder City does have.
Okay.
You guys house one of the 2 veterans homes.
Yes.
There's only 2 in the state of Nevada.
Right.
And recognized ran by the state. You guys house one of the 2 veteran homes, and you guys also house the veteran cemetery.
We do.
Up there. So thank you for making sure that the veterans have a place You
Yes,
know, because the nursing home is for when just before they hit the cemetery type of deal. You know, it's like
And we've got Big Long Veterans Memorial Parkway that goes through to town, and we've got Veterans Park as well. So we do honor our veterans out there. It's important for us, and you know, we keep some things out, but we never keep veterans out of Boulder City. So.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And then before Jim started talking to you, there was one thing that I was bringing up a while back, and it was to put a crematory out there. And apparently, when I was dealing with the former mayor Tubler, he was saying that they had a problem with the smoke and stuff of that nature. And now that they're more advanced in technology, and that wasn't something that's going to happen anymore. And the reason I bring that up about the crematory is because when I'm sure when veterans want to bury their loved ones, or loved ones want to bury their veterans, they have to go to Henderson and transport the body to Henderson, and then crematory in Henderson, and then bring it to Boulder. And apparently that was a lot of money being wasted when they could just, one-stop shop and just go to Boulder and
Sure.
get it done. Is that something that you wouldn't mind having in Boulder City, a crematory, or is that?
Sure. I mean, health and safety issues are always critical, and I don't know the details about what happened with Mayor Tobler.
I never brought it back up again because.
But yeah, certainly we, if it's a convenience thing and all other things being equal, we'd certainly be willing to look at that.
Okay. Sure.
So, Mayor, for the listeners, obviously you guys just walk them through. Like, do you guys meet once a month, every other month, once a week? If you could just kind of go through like how often you guys meet and what those meetings, what you do in those meetings.
Sure. We meet on the second and the fourth Tuesdays of every month, generally, and there's a few exceptions during the year at 7 o'clock in the evening. And we make policy. So we have like any public body, we have recognitions, and we disseminate information to the public. But trying to move forward with economic vitality, with safety issues, with anything that comes under our jurisdiction. And we have 200 square miles of land. We're geographically the biggest city in Nevada, and so we have a lot of land to manage. It's an asset for us, but it's also a challenge. And right now we're talking about some growth issues in terms of commercial as well as residential. That's
some PR stuff.
Yeah,
you're trying to grow Boulder City.
No, not necessarily, but I think Boulder City, with I-11 coming in, there are some challenges. We're going to change, and we want to make sure we're changing for the better. Right. And so I think we need to decide who we want to be and what those changes are going to mean. And then, if that means some growth to help us out, then that's what it means.
So let me ask you something. If I was looking to buy a home and I didn't know Boulder City from a hole in the ground, how would you convince me to come move up there? What would you say to me?
Well, Boulder City is a great place to live. It's a small town community. It's great, quaint feel there. The schools are fantastic. The parents are involved. I was talking to Ricky Cheese before the program, and that's one of the things that makes Boulder City great, is just the people in the community. You know everybody when you go to the grocery store, and you
Isn't that scary
though?
Know everybody?
No, it's not scary. It's great. You get to interact with them at Little League games and at community events, and it's fantastic when people are involved, because that's what government really is. It's it's not us.
Right.
We're there to be the face, and we're there to try to do what our constituents want. But it's the community that makes.
What's your crime rate?
It's very low. We've got a lot of traffic violations, just like any community, but we've got a new drug court out there, which is trying to take care of those types of problems that lead into other crimes and get people back on the right track in their lives. But generally, we've got really low crime rate, really low homelessness rate, and
low. You shouldn't have no homelessness.
We have almost none. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Mayor, one thing, do you guys have, or have you ever thought about maybe coming up with any kind of program up there to get kids interested, or to get them to bring them in and understand how city government works? Because one of the things that I get asked lots of times when people find out that I'm part of Veterans in Politics and I do this show, or that I'm politically active, they want to get involved in politics, and they always ask me, hey, what would be the best way to do that? And I said, well, obviously volunteering and stuff like that first, but if you were ever thinking of running for an office, I always suggest running for city council or running for some kind of city government position, because for me personally, I think it's the most important. You're the closest to the people. You have the most immediate impact of any other governing body. Is there anything like that you guys do to, like, you yourself or your council members ever go like speak at school out there or anything like that?
Absolutely. We do various things here, but one of the main things we do to educate the high school students, is every year we invite them in for a mock city council, and it's part of what they do in their curriculum. They get graded on it, and so they get to be the mayor, or they get to be the city manager, or the police chief, or the fire chief, or the public works director. They get to be involved, and they get real life issues that we're dealing with at the time. They get to decide which of those issues they want to grapple with, and then they come together and have this big day where each of the classes comes up and runs their city council. And so I think it's very enlightening for them. It certainly feels good for us as public servants to get to talk to them one-on-one and in their classes. We help prep them for it, and it's amazing to me when I see the good questions that they have these days. I mean, I can think back when I was in high school, and I just feel like they're advanced. The education is a lot more advanced in terms of social awareness and political awareness and things like that these days. And so we try to do that, and then we get into elementary schools and talk to the kids when we're invited and things as well.
Well, that's very cool, because I tell, I'm really big on city government. I just think that it's one of those things that, like, a lot of people ignore, and I don't, for the life of me. It's kind of like same thing with judges. I don't understand how those two get ignored, because it's immediate impact and it's the closest governing body you got. I mean, me and my city councilman fight all the time.
Well, what's the budget of Boulder City?
Budget of Boulder City? Well, we have our own utilities, so we kind of have two big...
You don't have Nevada Energy up there?
No, we don't have Nevada Energy.
Oh, wow. Warren Buffett didn't raid your city?
We used to have them as backup, but no, we don't. And so we get a lot of our power directly from Hoover Dam.
Okay.
But
that's good to know.
Yeah. So our general budget can be anywhere from about $26 to $30 million a year, and the utility budget can be that much again on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much federal land is out there?
Well, we own the 200 square miles, and we did a trade to get a big portion of that.
Oh, you did?
Many years ago. But we're surrounded by BLM land, just like everybody else is around.
Any reservations up there?
No reservations.
None at all.
Not close by. No.
Okay, and just so the listeners could know exactly where Boulder City is, could you explain the geographics?
Yeah, it's almost due south from Las Vegas. It's down in the very bottom tip of Nevada, and right where we're probably about 5 miles away from the Colorado River and Lake Mead, so just down the hill from us. Mm-hmm. And some people think that it's miles and miles away, especially Las Vegas residents. When I grew up in Las Vegas, and you had to travel on Boulder Highway, it was like a day's journey. It was at least an hour long to get out there. Today it took me about, I'm coming from Boulder City all the way to the other side of Las Vegas to be here, and it took me about 40 minutes. So, and I commute to work in Henderson 15 minutes. So it's not as far away as people think, and we like people to come out.
And you guys got your own airport.
We do.
And you guys do skydiving out there, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
I've
not done it. I've not done it.
You haven't done it?
I have.
And you did?
Yeah.
You guys got a zip line out there too, isn't
we
that
do.
correct?
I've done that.
How come you didn't mention that?
It's
Come on, man.
fantastic.
I'm talking more about your city than you are.
Yeah, that's right. We do.
You're supposed to sell me to come move to. He doesn't want me to move there. That's what it is.
Well,
Mayor, you don't want me to move to your city.
I do.
He's a smart man.
You look like a zip liner. It's like a 2 mile zip line.
I heard about
5 stages, so it's really cool.
How much does that cost, a zip line, 2 miles?
Oh my gosh! Well, I think that it's like $125, but
Really?
I bet I could get you a deal if you came.
Oh,
Yeah.
we should have the whole veterans in politics come out there and
Absolutely.
zip line.
Yeah.
Zip line for Mayor Woodbury. Two of your council seats are up next year, correct? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's two, right?
2.
Okay. Well. What two?
That would be Duncan McCoy's seat
Okay.
and Cam Walker's seat. And
Oh, Cam Walker.
looks like Cam Walker's running again. Duncan McCoy just announced that he's not going to.
Oh, so he's vacating the seat.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's good. Mayor, could you give us your point of contact, please?
Sure. You can contact me at 702-933-0777 or at rod@woodbury-law.com.
Well, Mayor Rod Woodbury, thank you so much for coming on the program. Really appreciate that. Folks, that's
My pleasure.
That's Mayor Rod Woodbury, Mayor of Boulder City. And this is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas. Until next week.